Netflix's Geek Week just flew by, and with that came some major announcements for multiple different series, but today we are going to be focusing on the only important series, and that is Avatar: The Last Airbender. Okay, I'm joking, the other series are probably cool too, but over here on this channel, we talk about Avatar. During this, they released some major news for season 2 of their live action adaptation, and most importantly, they told us who is going to be playing Toph, along with a short teaser and a couple of articles that explain some behind the scenes stuff that gives a lot of people hope for season 2, but also is worrying some people. So if you want to know everything, the good, the bad, the neutral, you better stay until the end of the video. Firstly, let's go over the article explaining who our new Toph is. Maya Chek will star in season 2 as Toph, a master earthbender who is born blind and trained to feel and sense the world around her. Executive producers Jabbar Raisani and Christine Boylan tell Tadum that there were thousands upon thousands of auditions submitted for Toph, but they both immediately knew that Chek was the perfect fit. We make a point of reviewing submissions separately, and after countless tapes, we both had the same reaction. Maya is our Toph, they explained. Maya is a brilliant performer who knows how to precisely balance the sarcastic sense of humor, stubbornness, and vulnerability that is Toph Beifong. Her physicality and emotional dexterity really put her in a class of one. Now, for the most part, Netflix has done a pretty good job with casting, so I tend to trust them when they say these kind of things. I've also been looking at various clips and movies of her acting, and I will say she pulls off that angsty teenager vibe pretty well. It's kind of like her thing in these movies. But again, we won't know for sure until we see her as Toph. But so far, things are looking good. Who is Toph? Boylan and Raisani consider Toph one of their favorite characters from the animated series. We love how her abrasively hilarious energy complements and clashes with the rest of the gang, and can't wait to see how she comes alive on set. She's funny, she's very smart about the world around her, and a very accomplished earthbender. Underneath all that, she's got emotional layers we can't wait to explore. It's always a good sign when the people in charge seem to understand the character. I'm really hoping this means they recognize the mistakes they made with Sokka, and they're not gonna do the same with Toph. This next part of the article dives deeper into the background of our new Toph. Chek, whose full first name is Miyako, is an actor who has appeared in Beef, Young Rock, The Santa Clauses, as well as the movie You Are Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah. While Chek has portrayed characters who share Toph's dry humor and sarcasm, this role feels particularly special because Toph is a completely unique character. She tells Tadum that no one is like her. For Chek, portraying Toph is an opportunity to honor her heritage. I personally am of Chinese and Japanese American descent, and I'm so excited to represent my Chinese heritage in Toph Beifong. One of the most incredible aspects of this show is the diversity of Asian cultures in the Avatar world. Even though the universe is fantasy, it feels like every culture is represented in some way and tied to the history and traditions of that culture or country. Just a few years ago, you might have seen one or two of these actors in a show or movie, but on this show, we're all able to represent this world together and work together and collaborate. It's amazing and a gift as an actor. This is all great and she sounds like the perfect Toph, but let's address the elephant in the room here. Maya is clearly a lot older than Toph, coming in at 17 years old, and Toph is of course 12 years old. But let me explain why this has to be done. Gordon, our Aang, was 11 years old when they filmed season 1. He looked like a baby there. But Gordon can't stay 11 forever. He's grown a bit, it's been a few years since they filmed. Gordon is now 14 years old and is looking a lot older these days. And he's only going to continue to look older as they filmed this in season 3. They wanted to keep Toph and Aang looking the same age. After all, we're going to go through a potentially 2-year time skip in between season 1 and 2. This had to be done, there's really no way around it. There's some notable details at the end of the article here. 1, Maya's already in boot camp preparing to be Toph. 2, she's a lifelong fan of the animated series. 3, unlike the original cast, she knew she was auditioning for Toph. 4, she hasn't even seen what Toph's outfit looks like, which is kind of odd considering we have a teaser of Toph, which leaves me thinking, who is this? Before we get into the controversial news, let's go ahead and have a look at the teaser. This is a really short teaser, so there's not a whole lot to go off of. Just knowing this isn't the actual actress playing Toph makes it a little weird, if that makes sense. But I guess they could have just interviewed her for the article before they shot the teaser. That could have always happened. Right off the bat, her costume, at least from what I can see, so just the bottom, is pretty much exactly the same as a cartoon, just a little darker, and obviously it's textured, so it's realistic. The outfit also seems more worn and lived in compared to the previous outfits. You can see dirt, scuff marks on it. In season 1, they went with extremely bright and colorful costumes. It seems they're kind of changing directions just a little bit. I did hear they changed costume designers, which is a little unfortunate because I was a huge fan of the colorful fantasy feel of season 1, but I'm not gonna judge this until I see everything. I'm just gonna let them cook. I know a lot of fans did want the clothes to be more lived in and dirty and just feel more real overall. I know this is a short teaser, but I'm really hoping they speed up the earthbending just a little bit. The earthbending was one of the main critiques of season 1. It was just a little slow at times and even delayed at others. But overall, I think the teaser looks great. Let's dive into the more controversial article. I see people a little worried about some of the things said in here. I think it is just a little bit too early to be throwing up the pitchforks and getting mad at things, but let's see. We're looking forward to working with all of our actors again and digging into the deeper, more complicated relationships that develop as their journey continues in season 2. We are going to show the real world versions of iconic scenes from the original and explore some of the stories that the animation didn't. Mainly, we're looking forward to seeing our gang all together again. A lot of people read this and they're instantly like, oh no, digging into deeper and more complicated relationships, that doesn't necessarily mean that Netflix is just gonna add unnecessary emotional scenes like a lot of people are assuming. Now, don't get me wrong, that definitely could happen, but this doesn't necessarily mean that. Season 2 in itself was just a lot more emotional, a lot deeper in many ways, and they could just be referring to that. The thing that I do agree with everyone that is a bit worrying is that they're going to be exploring some of the stories that the animation didn't. I'm all for Netflix original content if the runtime is there, but so far we've received no confirmation that the runtime or episode count is changing. This would have been the perfect time to do it. They could have announced that here, but they didn't. If they struggled adapting season 1 on 8 one-hour episodes, then season 2 is going to be even harder, especially if they're adding in new scenes, or as they're putting it, new stories. The chance of us getting more episodes is honestly pretty slim. Netflix doesn't normally do that. If anything, they always decrease the show's episode count. They could do what they did with Stranger Things and keep the episode count the same, but give each episode more runtime. That would work really well in this situation, but again, we pretty much know nothing. Here is when they dive deeper into what season 2 is about. There's no war in Ba Sing Se, you know, a reference from the original series, whatever, we all know that. But here's what I like. For the gang, we can expect more brilliant plans from Sokka, some more masterful bending from Katara, Appa and Momo will be fluffy as ever, and Aang is going to be learning a new bending form or two. I'm so glad they're recognizing the mistake of Aang not waterbending in season 1. I'm really hoping he gets the basics down in the time skip, so we can just have more casual scenes like this of him training waterbending with Katara, because him learning the fundamentals of earthbending and waterbending, it's just gonna make the whole show feel a little crammed. The rest of the article is just a recap of season 1, so I don't really need to go through that. Overall, I'm excited, man. I really need this season to be amazing. Season 2 is my personal favorite season of Avatar, so I'm just gonna be heartbroken if this season ends up being mid. Anyways, thanks for watching this week's Yap Fest. I'll see you guys whenever I see you. Bye, guys.